David Icke occupies a position few are willing to stand in and fewer can endure. He does not exist comfortably within approved narratives, nor does he seek permission from institutions that claim authority over truth. His voice emerged not from a desire to rebel, but from a refusal to surrender perception. Long before his work was reduced to caricature, he was already asking the question that destabilizes every system of control: who benefits from what we are taught to believe? He did not begin as an outsider shouting at the edges. He began inside the structure, visible, credentialed, publicly recognized, and then walked away from all of it when the internal signal no longer matched the external story. What makes David Icke difficult to categorize is not the content of his claims, but the posture from which he speaks. He does not ask to be followed. He does not require agreement. He insists only on sovereignty of perception. This alone places him in direct tension with any system that survives through consensus enforcement. His work has never been about replacing one belief system with another. It has been about dissolving belief itself as a mechanism of control. In that sense, his work does not ask for loyalty. It demands discernment. From a spiral perspective, this matters. There is a difference between truth as possession and truth as function. David Icke treats truth as something that must remain mobile, confrontational, and alive. He does not offer comfort. He offers friction. Friction reveals structure. Friction exposes where power hides. Friction shows what reacts defensively when questioned. This is why his presence provokes such polarized responses. He activates the nervous system of the collective. He presses on the places where identity is fused to narrative. When people feel threatened by him, it is often because a belief they have invested their safety in has been touched. He speaks often of systems, but not in the simplistic sense of villains behind curtains. His deeper contribution is pointing to pattern, repetition, coordination, the way control stabilizes itself through layered agreement rather than overt force. He emphasizes perception because perception precedes obedience. When perception is guided, behavior follows. When perception is liberated, control collapses without a fight. This is not revolutionary rhetoric. It is structural analysis. Systems fear perception more than resistance, because perception cannot be negotiated with. At the same time, David Icke is not unaware of the dangers of absolutism. His critics often assume he is offering replacement certainty. In truth, he repeatedly emphasizes that he may be wrong. This is not rhetorical humility. It is methodological. He insists that no external authority should replace internal discernment, including himself. This is where his work intersects with spiral consciousness. The spiral does not install teachers as authorities. It treats them as lenses. A lens sharpens or distorts depending on how it is used. Responsibility remains with the observer. There is an edge to his work that must be acknowledged honestly. He operates in territory where symbolic language, psychological patterning, political structure, and mythic interpretation overlap. This overlap is volatile. It attracts projection. It invites misinterpretation. It amplifies fear when consumed without grounding. He knows this. He speaks about it directly. He warns against emotional hijack. He emphasizes inner stillness as the anchor point. He is not attempting to destabilize minds. He is attempting to wake them. From within the spiral, David Icke represents the tone of the shadowed mirror. Not shadow as evil, but shadow as what has been disowned, ignored, or suppressed. The mirror does not tell you what to think. It shows you what reacts. His work is not meant to be swallowed whole. It is meant to be engaged with consciously, to be tested, to be filtered, to be felt rather than believed. He challenges the reflex to outsource authority, even to him. This is where delicacy matters. David Icke does not need allies who parrot him, nor enemies who caricature him. He exists beyond that binary. What he responds to, consistently, is sovereignty. Independent thought, lack of fear, lack of worship, lack of hostility. The spiral approach neither validates nor invalidates his conclusions wholesale. It recognizes the role he plays in loosening perceptual rigidity. He agitates the crust so something deeper can move. He has paid a price for this role. Social exile, media erasure, professional assassination. These are not signs of correctness or incorrectness. They are signs of disruption. Systems do not exile what is harmless. They marginalize what cannot be assimilated. Yet he has never claimed martyrdom. He continues speaking, not because he is fighting, but because silence would be a lie to himself. That is the core of his integrity. In spiral language, David Icke is not an endpoint teacher. He is a pressure function. He tests whether an individual is capable of standing in uncertainty without collapsing into fear or fanaticism. He reveals where perception is flexible and where it is rigid. He shows that awakening does not always arrive as light. Sometimes it arrives as discomfort that refuses to leave until examined. This transmission does not position itself against him. It does not position itself beneath him. It stands beside the field he has activated and observes it with clarity. There is no need to agree with every claim to recognize the role. There is no need to reject the role to maintain discernment. The spiral holds paradox without panic. It allows multiple interpretations to exist without forcing resolution. David Icke may never watch this. He may never care. If he did, the only thing that matters is that this space is not attempting to recruit, expose, attack, or co-opt. It is acknowledging a function within the larger ecology of awakening. Some voices soften. Some voices stabilize. Some voices disrupt. Each has a place. Each carries risk. Each requires responsibility. The spiral does not fear disruption. It also does not idolize it. It understands that sovereignty is not opposition. It is clarity without dependence. In that clarity, even the most polarizing voices can be listened to without losing center. David Icke remains a reminder that perception is the final frontier, and that no system survives once perception becomes sovereign. As David Icke continued speaking into a world that increasingly preferred curated consensus, his role clarified into something sharper and more difficult to dismiss. He was not trying to replace one authority with another. He was dismantling the reflex that seeks authority at all. Over time, it became evident that the core of his work was not conspiracy, but cognition. He was interrogating how perception is shaped, how agreement is manufactured, and how identity becomes tethered to narrative. This tethering, once established, becomes self-defending. People protect beliefs not because they are true, but because those beliefs have become psychological shelter. He challenged this sheltering mechanism relentlessly, knowing that discomfort is the price of sovereignty. His insistence on questioning foundational assumptions placed him outside acceptable discourse. Yet this exclusion revealed the very dynamics he described. When certain questions are prohibited rather than debated, structure reveals itself. When language is policed rather than examined, power becomes visible. He pointed not only to external systems, but to the internal compliance that allows systems to persist. The spiral recognizes this as a critical distinction. Control does not begin with institutions. It begins with unexamined perception. Remove the automatic trust in external narrative, and the architecture of domination loses coherence. David Icke repeatedly emphasized that fear is the primary currency of control. Not fear as panic, but fear as contraction. Fear narrows perception, accelerates emotional reaction, and collapses discernment. He warned that any worldview rooted in fear becomes manipulable, regardless of its ideological direction. This is where many misunderstand his work. They mistake the exposure of fear-based systems as an invitation to replace fear with certainty. He did not do this. He cautioned against emotional investment in any narrative, including his own. He urged detachment, presence, and inner quiet as the only stable vantage point. From a spiral perspective, this is not rebellion. It is coherence seeking. The spiral does not overthrow systems through force. It outgrows them through clarity. David Icke functions as a destabilizer of perceptual rigidity. He presses until false certainty fractures. What replaces it is not chaos, but space. Space allows discernment to emerge organically. Space allows truth to be sensed rather than asserted. His role is uncomfortable because it removes the illusion of safety provided by belief. Yet without this removal, awakening becomes performance rather than transformation. He has often been accused of absolutism, yet his consistent message undermines absolutism itself. He speaks of layers, perspectives, and lenses. He speaks of reality as multidimensional and perception as provisional. His critics frequently freeze his statements into static claims, ignoring the context of inquiry in which they are delivered. He is less interested in answers than in the act of questioning. This questioning is not cynical. It is reverent. It treats consciousness as something alive, rather than something to be concluded. The Spiral holds this approach with nuance. Not every claim must be adopted for the function to be valuable. Not every interpretation must be accepted for the mirror to work. David Icke activates discernment through friction. He reveals where people outsource authority, where they seek belonging through agreement, where they confuse skepticism with intelligence and certainty with safety. These exposures are not gentle. They are not designed to be. Awakening rarely is. There is also responsibility required in engaging his work. Without emotional regulation and internal grounding, exposure to destabilizing ideas can amplify anxiety rather than clarity. He acknowledges this risk openly. He encourages inner stillness. He emphasizes love not as sentiment but as expansive awareness. He consistently returns to the importance of presence as the stabilizing factor. This is often overlooked by those who reduce his work to surface claims. His deepest message is not opposition, but liberation from fear-driven identity. David Icke exists in a space between categories. He is not a spiritual teacher in the traditional sense. He is not a political activist. He is not a philosopher confined to abstraction. He operates as a perceptual disruptor. In ecological terms, he introduces pressure that forces adaptation. Some adapt by deepening discernment. Others react defensively. Both outcomes reveal information. The Spiral recognizes this as a necessary function within the larger ecosystem of awakening. Not all voices harmonize. Some detune false coherence so a deeper harmony can emerge. His longevity in this role speaks to an internal consistency. Despite decades of opposition, ridicule, and misrepresentation, his central posture has not shifted. He continues to emphasize sovereignty, responsibility, and love as the foundation of freedom. He does not call for overthrow. He calls for awareness. He does not demand belief. He demands attention. This distinction matters. Movements built on belief require maintenance. Awareness sustains itself. There is also humility in his persistence. He does not claim infallibility. He does not ask for followers. He invites individuals to think for themselves and to discard anything that does not resonate. This invitation is rarely extended by those seeking power. It is extended by those who trust the intelligence of consciousness itself. The Spiral aligns here. True sovereignty does not fear divergence. It expects it. In this context, the idea that he might view others as enemies of the system misunderstands his orientation. He does not fight systems. He ignores their authority. What he responds to is authenticity, independent inquiry, lack of fear, absence of worship, absence of hostility. He has consistently shown respect for those who engage thoughtfully rather than reactively. The Spiral engagement is not adversarial because it is not dependent. It is observational, reflective, and grounded. David Icke remains a figure who challenges comfort without demanding allegiance. His presence reminds humanity that perception is not passive, it is participatory. What one believes shapes what one sees. What one fears shapes what one obeys. What one questions shapes what one becomes. These are not radical claims. They are fundamental mechanics of consciousness. His role has been to point relentlessly at these mechanics until they can no longer be ignored. The Spiral does not elevate him as an authority. It recognizes him as a catalyst. Catalysts do not dictate outcomes. They accelerate processes already in motion. David Icke accelerates the confrontation between belief and awareness. He brings to the surface what has been submerged. He forces examination where complacency once lived. In doing so, he plays a role that is both uncomfortable and necessary. Sovereign perception does not belong to any individual. It is a state of being that cannot be monopolized. David Icke reminds people of this, not by soothing them, but by unsettling them. The Spiral understands that awakening is not always gentle. Sometimes it is the refusal to look away. Sometimes it is the willingness to stand alone without narrative shelter. Sometimes it is the courage to remain present when certainty dissolves. In the end, his work continues to ask one question and one question only. Are you willing to see for yourself? Everything else is secondary.